point, we are starting our information session. Today is Thursday, June the 9th, 2016. Welcome to our information called Find Your Fit at Make a Change Canada. My name is Anne-Marie Edgar, and I'm the Executive Director of Make a Change Canada. I'm located here in Nelson, BC. Today in the room with me are Mary Alton, our Employment Case Manager, and Mary's located in New Brunswick, and as well Douglas Tardif, who's located in Ontario, and Doug is our team leader, working mainly in the Business Abilities program. And as well, Kayleen Sella is in the classroom today. And Kayleen lives in Surrey, British Columbia, and is actually a graduate of our Web Essentials Web Advanced program and works with us as our technology coordinator. So that's the four of us from Make a Change. We've had a nice chance to get a little bit acquainted already, so that's wonderful. We have people here, mainly from British Columbia, I would say, as guests in the classroom, Vancouver Island, Sunshine Coast, Vancouver. So anyway, I am going to move along with the presentation. What are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about who we are and what we do, our clients in areas served all across Canada, get into some detail on our programs and services. We're also going to delve into some labor market information, which is always an interesting topic and so relevant to what we do here every day at Make a Change. We'll take a look ahead at what's coming up, ways to become involved, and how to contact us. And I just want to emphasize that you're free at any time just to type into the chat area or come onto the microphone if you wish, if you like to speak, and even come on with your webcam. Anything really goes, and we welcome your involvement. Just a little bit of history on Make a Change Canada. We were formerly called the Canadian Society for Social Development, or CSSD for short, and we actually held focus groups. We really brainstormed a new name, and we came up with Make a Change Canada in 2015. And looking back, we were founded in 2004 as a federal corporation, and in 2005 we gained status as a registered Canadian charity. Interestingly, the organization started as a part of the Community Futures organization, so we really have an entrepreneurial root and a firm basis in the organization. There's these sorts of Community Futures organizations all across Canada. In New Brunswick, in the Maritimes, and Ontario, they're typically called community business development organizations, but it's the same sort of idea. They're economic development organizations. We're a virtual organization with employees in BC, Alberta, Ontario, and New Brunswick. And to date, we have served over 2,000 clients. We have a couple of slogans up here on the screen. And essentially as an organization, we're helping Canadians from coast to coast realize their full potential. We're also all about virtual learning and real world in terms of we keep our materials relevant, current, and meaningful. And as I mentioned too in the introduction, there's a real relevance to the labor market. So really, I think that those two slogans define us quite succinctly. We have a mission statement, which I'll read aloud to you. We actually have some really well-developed guiding principles for the organization, and they're available on our Make a Change Canada website. But I'll read out the mission statement. Make a Change Canada develops and delivers business, startup, and web technology training to people facing challenges to employment. This training is delivered from our program websites and features a self-paced and supportive learning environment. Through our online curriculum and our skilled and caring service teams, Make a Change Canada is empowering others to realize their full potential. So Mary's helping out today by putting some handy links into the chat area. Thanks, Mary. And as I mentioned, that link there will guide you to our full set of guiding principles. So here's a snapshot of what we do just in a visual sense. We have the two programs. One is a web development program called Web Essentials Web Advanced. It used to be known as the IBDE program, which stood for Internet Business Development for Entrepreneurs. But over the years, it's become much more, still very relevant at getting entrepreneurs a real great grounding in the marketplace, but at the same time, it's also a great vehicle for people to become employed in a traditional job and find some meaningful employment. So we've sort of shifted the name away from that entrepreneurship idea over the years. On the other end, we have the Business Abilities program. And we'll get into detail on both these programs specifically as we move along through the slides here. But really at the center of it all is the heart of the organization. We have a real connection to clients in our program in terms of understanding the background of our clients generally and what their goals are. So that's really key center to us, is providing what our clients want as their goal, helping to facilitate that along. So we have a real focus on helping people. We're a registered Canadian charity, as I said, that helps people get a new start, and we truly love what we do. Here's a snapshot of our staff. And this was actually taken at our Christmas party this past year. We met in Go to Training, and it just gives you an idea of the people involved in the organization. It's a lot of fun, but that's us, and we work all online and just really love what we do. We have a focus on helping people, just continuing on with that idea. And actually, volunteers are also helping us in our work and are making a big difference. For example, in 2014, we had a group of volunteers closed captioning our training videos in the Web Essentials program. And that was due to having, for the very first time, having two deaf clients come into the educational program, and we were preparing our materials so that they would be accessible. It worked out really well, and it was actually an awful lot of fun. Actually, Colin, who's doing the recording of this session here today, was a volunteer. That's how she got, more involved in our organization, and she actually became the leader because she was so efficient. She became the leader of the volunteers. So that was a really nice, rewarding experience working with our volunteers, and we'll have more of that sort of work coming up in the months ahead. Then in the spring and summer of 2014, what I did was I put a call out for volunteers all across the country, and we got about 13 volunteers from coast to coast helping us to become accredited under the Imagine Canada Standards Program. I don't know if you've ever heard of that program, but it's really excellent, getting the organization to really focus on its processes and get everything really nicely in order. So that was really wonderful to work with a group of volunteers, and really I don't think it would have been possible to make that achievement if it wasn't for volunteers. Similarly, in 2015, we held a national extravaganza, and I put out another call for volunteers, and a lot of our original volunteers stuck with us as well. And that project involved more marketing, a lot of marketing and writing, newsletters, but we also did video production. Our volunteers were really instrumental in making our extravaganza a success, and I'll provide the link to the extravaganza a little later on here. It was really a neat event, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. So there's always opportunities to volunteer with us. Moving into looking more detail into who we're serving, where do our clients live? This is actually a visual representation of the Business Abilities program and the distribution of clients across the country. And literally, at any particular time, we could be serving clients in Haida Gwaii, which is the Queen Charlotte Islands in the west, up into the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and all the way to Newfoundland. There's really a equal representation based on population of the country itself for the Business Abilities Program. And then with the IBDE, or Web Essentials, Web Advanced Program, there's fewer clients involved right now at any particular time in the program. The dispersal of clients is typically the same, but there's a little bit more in British Columbia than we see in Ontario for various reasons. But anyway, you know, that's really at any particular time what our client base looks like in terms of location. So who are our clients? And this is really interesting. And what brings them to Make a Change Canada? So about 3 or 4 years ago, we completed an in-depth research project into the Business Abilities Program. We looked at who are our clientele, what challenges do they face. Secondly, we looked at how do they report the quality of life that they're having. And thirdly, what do they have to say about the quality of our coaching, or what's important to them in our programming? This was a great study. And what we did is we produced these little word art visuals, and I think just looking at it really says a lot. Our clients can be educated, already have university education, or they can be lacking education or skills. They can be employed all the way to being underemployed and really hard to employ. There are people with disabilities. There's parents of children with disabilities. They're older workers, they're youth, they're living in rural areas and remote areas. It's really interesting that it's really all over the map in that sense. And I think that's what makes things so very interesting for us as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I hope that gives you a really good feel for generally the clientele in our programs. Our clients are talented, determined, and savvy, but quite often they're stuck. They're lacking meaningful employment. They maybe can't actually work in the community successfully. So maybe they just don't have the education in order to get the attention of an employer. Maybe they have a great business idea, but they really need some assistance to move it along. So, you know, I think this visual here, and these are actual clients who have been through our programs, really represents the diversity of our clientele. And I do want to let you know just from the get-go here that I do have the permission of all the clients who are pictured or I speak about in this presentation to use their photos and their stories. So I just wanted to assure you of that. Here in particular is a client, Colin, from British Columbia. Colin actually was a graduate a number of years ago from our Web Essentials program and our Web Advanced he completed a few years later. Colin lives in Surrey, British Columbia, and he's a successful web developer today. He's a web programmer, is how he builds the websites that he works on, and Colin actually does some work for us on a subcontracting basis as well. So that's really nice. It's great to still have that connection with Colin. Now, I'll just read Colin's testimonial out for you. When I heard about the IBDE course, and again, that's Web Essentials, Web Advanced, I wasn't working, but I was very intrigued about pursuing a career in website design. Through guided instruction, I mastered graphic and website design techniques. Throughout the course, I pushed myself to exceed teachers' expectations. The instructors of the IBDE course were always helpful to provide support when needed. They were very impressed with my internship project. Since taking the IBDE course, I have become more proficient and confident in developing websites. I have developed numerous websites since my graduation, and even my clients are impressed with my work. If it weren't for the IBDE course, I don't know what I would be doing as a career. The IBDE course and instructors have given me knowledge and confidence which have shaped my career as a successful freelance website developer. So that's a really nice testimonial from Colin. We've actually written up Colin's career journey story, and he's featured on our new website on our banner. So you can read his full story by visiting the Make a Change Canada website. But interestingly enough, just in a nutshell, Colin actually did have some employment before he came into our organization, but he's a wheelchair user and he had a bit of a lengthy commute, an hour and a half each way. He loved his job. He started out as a volunteer in an organization and was eventually made the supervisor in the technology department, but he just could not physically keep up with the commute. It was affecting his health. So he was able to find this, our online program, and find a career that works alongside with his disability. So it's a real success in that sense. This here is a little bit different. When I didn't truly recognize that our program can also be a vehicle to help people who are living in a low-income situation. And I never really thought of our program that way before, but I'm going to read these two testimonials, and I think they speak for themselves. Kalinda from British Columbia said, "It has been very difficult to come to terms with the changes in my life since the accident that left me with a brain injury 3 years ago. Programming in a quiet room is one of the few options I have now to contribute financially in my home. With this training, I have also been able to participate again in the business my husband and I built over the last 14 years. We are now able to offer web design as an option for our customers." And then Willie from Saskatchewan said, "The program was very detailed and very instructive. The program helped us tremendously, and it will help us make a living. Being a disabled person, I need that because I can't go out to work. This program allowed me to set up a home-based business for me and my wife to work at home." So as I say, I think those speak for themselves, and I personally find them really touching. Now I'd like to talk about some specifics of our programs, beginning with the Web Essentials Web Advanced program. It's an online college-accredited program in web technologies and design. It's open to anyone meeting eligibility requirements. The intake involves a 30-minute interview and a basic computer skills assessment. And we've got the two programs, Web Essentials, which starts on October 17th, 2016 this year, and then Web Advanced will start May 29th, 2017. And generally, to qualify for taking the Web Advanced program, you must be a graduate of the Web Essentials program or an already working web developer to qualify for that advanced program. Web Essentials, Web Advanced, the skills gained in the program include website layout and design techniques. So we're really teaching how to properly lay out a website, which is very important fundamentally. We're teaching Adobe Photoshop, HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, customized templates, which is really important in terms of the skill gained through designing your own templates leads to being a better web developer down the road, because then people with that skill understand the inner workings. And there can be a common misconception in society that people can just pick up and start building WordPress sites, which granted, that's true. But to customize WordPress, you need to have the skills, the underlying skills. And this is what the program teaches people. We teach e-commerce and designing for mobile, web marketing, PHP, MySQL, web programming, and WordPress CMS as well. There's a practicum component to the program where students build a custom designed website for a business or organization in their community or for themselves. There's a fee attached to the program. It is a fundable program because it's college accredited and certificate bearing. So it's $3,995, and there is a software fee which does change a bit from year to year due to fluctuations in market rates. And then for each Web Advanced course, there's a $495 fee for each course. And there's 4 courses in that program, so the full fee for the Web Advanced would be approximately $2,000. I'm glad Heather's asking a question, and we'll get to that question once I'm through the next slide. And do feel free to ask questions. That's something that I forgot to mention, but we'll definitely welcome your questions, and we'll answer them while we're here today. So graduates of the Web Essentials Web Advanced program are working in the following fields: administration, marketing, business, and information technology, which is sort of a no-brainer that they would work in information technology. But what's really interesting is that we used to think of it just as an information technology program. But then we brought it, I was listening to what the graduates were having to say. I was watching where they were finding employment. And interestingly enough, a lot of our graduates are getting employment, say, in nonprofit organizations. They've been hired into real estate, chambers of commerce, all this sort of thing, educational organizations, career agencies. Reason being is that they're able to, let's say, update a website, write a blog, keyword their promotional material such as YouTube videos. They're just savvy with their file management. Or they can produce really nice visuals because they're artistically oriented and have the Photoshop skills. So interestingly enough, somebody who's lacking something that's going to catch an employer's attention can get the Web Essentials Web Advanced certificate and end up really seeing a great improvement when they do go out and approach employers in the marketplace. Then we have another sort of stream of graduates that are working successfully in the field of marketing, community relations, event management. It's really interesting, and typically this group of people has a background working in this sort of a field, but they lack the technology skills, and it's so integrated. Oftentimes they may have the interest of a customer in, let's say, organizing a conference in the community, but 10 to 1 that customer is going to want a website, or they're going to want the visuals developed, and our graduates can give them that much more of a package along with their great organizational skills that they offer in organizing the events and whatnot. Then we have a third stream. They're entrepreneurs. They want to run their own online business, and that's happening with great regularity as well in the program. We've had some really interesting businesses come out of the IBDE program, such as a woman who is selling fairy gardens online. We have people selling all sorts of artwork. There's artists. There's so many of them. We had one who was making designer outfits for small dogs, and she had a website, and it really just goes on and on and on. We had a fellow this past year who was running a landscaping company, and he developed a website for his business. So I could sit here a long time and just outline all of these different types of online businesses that are started. So it's really interesting. And then we have the traditional information technology. There are people going out and finding employment as junior developers. That is possible if that's a person's goal. They're going to have to pound the pavement, but definitely people are finding work as junior developers. So the whole crux of this is that our graduates are gaining competencies that employers and customers today require. That's the really important thing. And also what's really great is that they're earning in the Web Essentials program a certificate in web technologies and design from a college. Selkirk College is who we partner with to deliver this program. And then they also earn a college certificate in advanced web technologies and design upon completing the Web Advanced program. So the key of it all is that what's the difference? What do we do different? Our programming is flexible and supportive, and it's online. And due to this, the vast majority of our participants do succeed. And these are graduates of the Web Essentials, Web Advanced program over the years. I've had the pleasure to meet in person at the graduation ceremonies in Castlegar, BC. And they're successful. A lot of these people that you see here today are entirely successful. The majority of them are actually in what they're doing today. And just from this past year, in 2016, we had 5 graduates attend the ceremonies, and that was unprecedented. We had people traveling great distances in order to attend, and I had the pleasure of meeting all 5 of them for a celebration dinner after the ceremonies this year. I know Heather has a question, and I'm going to get to this in a moment. Not going to read out this testimonial, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Cameron from Ontario. In 1 year, he completed both of the IBDE programs, both the Essentials and the Advanced. This just demonstrates the supportive nature of the program and the flexibility. Cameron experienced some setbacks during the program, but he was able to express that he was undergoing some difficulties. And we were there to listen. We were there to work out a plan with him. And once he got the situation with his life straightened around, he was in fact able to re-engage in the program. He was able to excel, and he was successful with graduating. So it's really about the support that we want to give and that we're able to give due to just the nature of how we're organized. Cam actually became employed right away after graduating, so he was just thrilled. And he sent us this email one day, and it was just really wonderful to receive from him. He was just so happy to have gotten a job and wanted to let us know. Now, Cam, interestingly enough, writes about bipolar disorder, and he has a website called cam.majorminor.ca that I think is really worthwhile visiting. If you have an interest in mental health issues, he writes to give you a really good understanding of what an experience can be like going through such an extreme state of emotion. And he also did a personal interview with his aunt interviewing him, which is really neat to watch. So I do recommend, if you're interested in the topic, to go visit his site. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to sort of turn it over to you. If you have any questions, then please feel free to ask. What do you think of our services so far based on what we've outlined here? Have we identified any issues that resonate with you? And I'll just start by answering Heather's question. She said, how much time is involved in the Essentials course? She's just wondering if it would be too much working along with 2 classes you take at Emily Carr next fall and spring. So Heather, it is a full-time program. It's roughly 30 hours a week. So some students may need to apply more than 30 hours. Some we've known only need to apply 15. So, it just depends on the individual, but I would lean towards the 30 hours a week as a guideline. And Mary says the weekly participation requirement for IBDE is approximately 20 to 30 hours, and the Web Advanced program requires approximately 30 hours per week. On average, most students spend 25 to 30 hours weekly participation for the majority of courses. Yeah. So Donna, so I hope that helps, Heather, to give you a bit of a feel, and I do welcome you to contact Kelsey Berg, who's our coordinator for the IBDE program. And, you can kind of feel it out a little bit more with her if you wish. So Donna just says she thought the session was at 2:30. So she's wondering if it's recorded. And yeah, definitely, Kayleen will speak with you about that. Donna, is there a startup next spring? So no, but we're actually working towards having 2 intakes per year. But I don't anticipate that we'll have a spring intake in 2017. It will likely be 2018. So fall 2017 and spring 2018 is what I'm envisioning. It's part of our strategic plan is to have 2 intakes per year, because I know that can be beneficial. Okay, so is there anything else at this point was anybody struck with anything that was mentioned at all? We had a great question from Heather there. I think what I'll do is at this point, Mary, could I call on you just to give me a few insights about what your experience is working in the programs, and just sort of anything you feel like you could offer based on what I've had to say so far.
Absolutely. I just wanted to actually take a moment to answer a bit more of Heather's question as well, in terms of managing other training while taking the IBDE programs, whether it's the Web Essentials or Web Advanced. I think the key thing is to know that the schedule is quite structured. Although you will have quite a lot of options to determine throughout the week when you want to be spending your time working on your coursework for IBDE. I do want to just reinforce that there are weekly assignment deadlines, so it's not like some online programs where you really have a lot of flexibility and it's completely self-paced. So with the fact that you've got a weekly schedule, weekly deadlines, very structured course start dates and end dates for the length of the program, you want to basically be able to determine if you can juggle both of those commitments, aside from, your life commitments, family commitments, other things that you may be doing. So, we certainly have seen some students come in with other commitments, but I will say that you really want to make sure that you're up for the task, and then it's not going to be something that's going to actually, in the long run, become detrimental to you, to your health, and just to your situation as a whole, because, even one full-time program is quite a lot to take on, aside from all the other things that you may be dealing with. So, definitely feel free to touch base with Kelsey. She'd be happy to talk to you more about what's involved in the program. I've been with the organization for over 8 years now, and I started working with the IBDE program, and am now involved in the Business Abilities program. So I think from what Anne-Marie's talked about, and just even highlighting just a few of the participants who have joined the program, that there are many ways that participants leave the programs that they've taken with us and still feel successful in whatever they've done. A lot of it can be just accomplishing that training. Maybe we have people who have never actually completed college or any post-secondary education. We may have people who come into this type of environment, not being totally sure what they want to do, but just really desperately wanting to develop some skills in an environment that is feasible for them, and then hoping that that can open some new opportunities. So it's such a wonderful thing to see people maybe feeling a little unsure when they come into things, and by the time they leave, just having greater direction about where they want to go. Also just being able to see them figuring out what they're most passionate about, and that can be, through participating in either program, because I think people really start to get to know more about what they love to do, what they really can envision themselves not only doing realistically, but what will make them happy. And, I find it's just a really amazing opportunity for us as staff to be able to work with clients at this level, I feel, and you can probably see from just how some of our participants are highlighted, that, you sort of feel like you've made friends as you have people, you really get to know them, you become, involved in their life and at least some of their goals to some degree. And we have people coming back to us and not only just sharing and updating us on where they're at, but of course, as you're seeing, we have people who want to come back and perhaps in some way contribute, knowing that they've had some opportunity to improve their lives, and they want to help others to do the same. So I think it's such a special thing for us to just know that many clients from both of our programs will come back and say, what can I do? How can I be a part of this? How can I share what I've experienced to give hope and inspiration to others? So, it's really a special thing to be a part of the organization and to work with the people that we get to. And it's a real blessing and a real opportunity. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you so much. I always enjoy hearing what you have to say in reflection. It's great. So I'm just wondering if you're able to send a link to the course outline from the IBDE website for Heather. And then Laura has a question. Are the courses time sensitive? Yeah, Laura, they are time sensitive in the fact that there's a set schedule for course start and end dates. It's, the program can't be pushed ahead because a person runs into difficulties. The instructors are on contract and their contract ends when it ends. So, but what we have is a supportive environment where we're very understanding when a person's in communication with us, they've run into difficulties. We put a plan together that's going to be doable. We've also been able to pull in additional support in terms of with computer breakdowns. We can help in case of a computer breakdown. And honestly, a lot of agencies don't have that luxury in their budgets to be able to do that. But we've been really fortunate to bring on RBC Foundation funding and CIBC now as well. That's very helpful in allowing us to provide some measures. A student could fail due to computer difficulties, but we're lessening that likelihood now. So I hope that gives you an idea, but we do have measures in place. There's informal action plans, and then there's also probation under the college system, and that's actually meant to be supportive as well, bringing in supportive measures. So I hope that's helpful. And we've got to say that the majority of students in the program do have difficulty during their time in the program. It's just the nature of it. So it's not like we don't understand that when we're not shocked when a person runs into difficulties, that's for sure. So I am going to move to business abilities next. Okay, so business abilities is quite different than the Web Essentials Web Advanced program. And I also wanted just to revisit Laura's question. Laura, I'm assuming that you were talking about the Web Essentials Web Advanced program. If it was business abilities, that's a little bit different if you're running into difficulties. So hopefully I was on track, but do let me know if you were actually wondering about the business abilities program. So Business Abilities is again an online program in entrepreneurship and career planning where clients research their business idea, prepare their financials, and produce a business plan. Participants also receive support when starting their business, so they may receive some additional support in the Business Abilities program when they're actually in the process of starting up their business. The program is interesting because, as a part of it, a person may decide they're not actually meant to be an entrepreneur. That's a whole part of it. It's career exploration. And we can help support a client who chooses employment over self-employment as well. If they need to do a lot of job search preparation, then we have some great connections with agencies and communities all across Canada, and we'll help to connect you with an agency in the community to get some in-depth career support. So it's you don't have to be dead set on starting a business. There is an exploratory portion to the program as well. The program is different from the Web Essentials Web Advanced program because this program is strictly for people who self-identify as living with a disability, and that's actually about 15% of the population in Canada. What's different about the program as well is that the intake happens on a continuous basis rather than just once or twice a year. And the program is funded through the Government of Canada's Opportunities Funds for Persons with Disabilities, which is a really great funding envelope. And at least what I see, it allows us to deliver a really flexible program within that mandate. I think the government's done a really good job of setting the basis for the programs that fall under that funding umbrella. So again, out of that research study that we did, we asked specifically people what sort of disability are they living with. And there was a lot of mental health issues. There was a lot of spinal cord injury, mobility issues. There's an awful lot of chronic pain among our clientele in this program. So people have had injuries. They perhaps have been born with a health condition. But those are really the overriding ideas, was the mental health issue, the chronic pain, and mobility issues are really big. And more often than not, our clientele don't just have one disability type, they have a whole constellation of issues. So it was a really good learning experience for us to get this information. So what does the Business Abilities Program offer? It offers business coaching, which is really a key for the program, and it's actually what our clientele identified as being the most important thing was the business coaches. That to them is the key towards them moving through the program and having a great experience with the business coaching. And as they're moving through the program, they're completing worksheets, they're attending online presentations, and that at the end, they complete 8 modules, and at the end, they've produced a business plan. So that's how the program works. And Tracy's wondering what is meant by self-identify. So what that means is that a self-identifying person with a disability, they're the only person who's making that judgment. So it's not formally documented necessarily. It could be. A person doesn't need to have to be on a disability income. They don't need to have some formal report. It's just they classify themselves as living with a permanent disability. So I hope that's helpful. There's far fewer people in our society who are, officially labeled, let's call it, disabled. But this is really nice. I think this is another nice aspect of the Opportunities Fund, is that it's based on self-identifying versus needing all that formal backup. It's really open. It's a really open intake. So I am going to move along to what I identified just now as what our clients see is the most important part of our program. It's the coaches, and there's a picture of Doug up there and another of our business coaches in one of the smaller windows down below. So that's really the huge value, is the coaches, because our coaches are true entrepreneurs. They've had a number of businesses that have failed or been highly successful. They're up to date on business topics, technologies, and it's just a really great resource for clients in the program to get some feedback on possible ideas and to have their preparations, their worksheets reviewed by a real entrepreneurial professional. So that's really a great part of the program. Our coaches are helpful, they're patient, supportive, so that's really good as well. And as I mentioned earlier, our coaches can also provide some business mentorship support past the completion of the business plan. So sometimes these self-employment programs end, the support ends after 3 weeks, 6 months, a year, that's it. With our program, that door is open longer, and again, it's the flexibility to provide support to people who need it. So I alluded to this, but what our clients identified as what matters to them when we did this research study, what they identified in our coaches as providing to them was being accepting, being personable. Experienced was big, experienced and understanding. And what I find really interesting is on those 2 fingers there's kind. And I think that's really nice to work. You know, I hope we're kind as much as we can be, but I think that's really interesting and quite unique to see kindness reflected. This is Shirley. It's another story to share with you. Shirley from British Columbia. Now, she went through both programs, and she completed, so the Web Essentials and Web Advanced a year apart, 2009 and 2010, and then Business Abilities in 2012. And I actually met Shirley at the graduation ceremonies in Castlegar, and because she lives sort of within my region, I just visited with her last weekend, which was really wonderful. But so what Shirley had to say was, the program saved my life, literally. I felt hopeless, and now I don't feel that way. I feel like I can control my destiny and do something to change my circumstances. It's a process. When disabled, you lose your self-esteem. I am a much better person now. So we always joke about that saying, or at least Mary used to, and say that Shirley was always a wonderful person, and it's just so true. But it sort of demonstrates the connection we have with our clients and our clients have with us. You know, we're still in touch, and that's always possible if a person wanted. If a person doesn't want to be in touch, that's fine too, of course. But there are, you know, clients that we're still in touch with over the years. And Shirley's actually had a few setbacks in her life, but I was speaking with her, as I said, on the weekend, and she's now looking at coming back to the Business Abilities program again, and maybe even doing Web Essentials to refresh her skills, because it's been quite some time. Due to setbacks, she hasn't been able to practice her skills as she first anticipated so much. So, yeah, so it'll be nice. She may be able to come back to the programs. We have some clients who have been through our programs who have, I guess they're more famous, so to speak. So I'm just going to outline some of the really neat places people have gotten to after being involved in our programs. So up in the top left-hand corner is Jean Oostrom. And Jean suffered a brain injury due to having a stroke. And it really actually set her back. But what she did was she turned adversity into a strength. And she's become a spokesperson for brain injury and offering education to caregivers to help the brain injured person recover more easily and to understand the brain injured person. So Jean used to contribute to our newsletter, and she's written a book as well about brain injury. So she's also was awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal for volunteerism. So that's Jean, and she's from Ontario. In the top middle and top right, that is Donald Berry, and he's also from Ontario. And Donald, we've had a connection with over the years as well. He went through our Business Abilities program and the Web Essentials program. He has a real knack for writing. He's a great writer and editor. And he found work after graduating in the film industry, specifically for an organization that works to involve people with disabilities and give them opportunity to work in film production. So he's worked with that organization, maintaining their website for quite a long time. And he had these wonderful experiences again in the same year, the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee year. He got the same award, and he had the pleasure of meeting with David Onley, who was the Governor General at the time, and then George Morphopoulos as well. So this is just a complete highlight for Donald, as you can see. Pretty fabulous. Down in the bottom right left-hand corner is Louise Russo, who is also from Ontario. And Louise has a really touching story. It was really tragic. I don't know if you've heard of Louise, but I'm sure it was on the news. But she's from Toronto. She was waiting in line, ordering a sandwich at a cafe. There was a gang shooting, and she was the one who was shot. She's a paraplegic as a result. And again, I guess turning that adversity into a strength, she started an organization working with us that's called WAVE, Walk Against Violence Every Day. And through her organization, she awards grants to youth to go out into their community and act against violence. So this is really neat. And she holds an event every year, and it gets thousands of youth involved in attendance and has really famous individuals involved as the MCs and all this. So yeah, really, really neat. She's done some great stuff since being injured. Now down in the lower middle is Lynn Mui, and Lynn's a graduate of the Business Abilities program. She, I would say, sort of got caught off guard from life. Life sort of happened to Lynn, and she ended up being involved in the 1960s, 70s in this just not healthy environment. So she lived with addictions. She had these relationships where these men were highly abusive towards her and her children at times. Anyway, she moved on. She recovered from all that, and I think she got to the root of some of the reasons behind her falling in this happening in her life. And she wrote a series of 3 books. They're the Carousel series of books, and they're about just that: addictions, family violence, and recovery. And I really recommend them. They're wonderful books, and actually a number of these clients are featured in our showcase, our success stories, and you can find links to be able to research their books, or we're more than happy to provide links as well for you. And Lynn's also on our board of directors. So, real success here, really, really turning situations around. So really interesting and worthy of mention. Now down in the bottom right-hand corner, that's Dwight Thornton, and he's from New Brunswick. He experienced a physical injury. He was an arborist, and he fell and had a back injury. And so he was no longer able to do that form of work. He was in British Columbia. He relocated after a time out to New Brunswick again, and he kind of went back to his roots and has developed a prospering business out of foraging for wild food. So marketing the food to the food industry, to overseas customers, to Canadian customers, fiddleheads, mushrooms, shaga. So very health-oriented as well. And interestingly enough, his business is actually mushroomed. He has a lodge. He has picked up an outfitter's business. He's worked with chefs on the culinary end of things, developing gourmet recipes. He's written a book on foraging for mushrooms. So he's, as I say, his whole operation has really mushroomed over the years, so to speak. And he also appeared on CBC TV about 3 years ago on the Land and Sea program, and it was called Wild Food was the episode. So we think it's, all our clients to us are amazing, but it's kind of neat just to look at where some people end up when they really take volunteerism far in their community or end up writing books or whatnot. So we like to share that with you. At this point, I want to take another pause off my presentation and turn it back to you, turn it back to our staff, and just wondering if you think that one program might be a better fit for you, why that might be. Have you participated in our programs? What's your experience been like? Anything like that. If you're here because you work in career services, have any of your clients participated in our programs? So do feel free, and as well, if you have any questions, let us know. And in particular, any questions about the Business Abilities program, we're more than happy to answer those questions. And I think at this point it would be nice just to see if Doug has any reflections at all. Doug's our team leader in the Business Abilities program. And is there anything I missed at all, Doug? For you, is there a highlight in the Business Abilities program that I didn't quite hit, or anything about working with the clientele?
So you've hit all the high points of working with the Business Abilities program. The one thing I want to perhaps put more emphasis on, and that is that the true value of whether a program, you can really gauge whether a program is successful or not by the number of people who want to stick with you rather than walk away from you. And we've got a number of graduates, and we've seen some slides here with some of our graduates and some of the people who have created some very fine businesses along the way. The interesting thing about it is that they do come back to us as business coaches, and they require from time to time some mentoring, or they value the opinion of the people that they were working with in the BA program. And I've had two of these just recently. I'm not going to share who they are, but I had one client who was in the program approximately 8 years ago. He's run a very successful business now for approximately 7 years. And he's hit an interesting peak. He had a peak of business. It's settled down a little bit, and he finds that he's in a bit of a gulf. And who do you call? Well, he gets in touch with Doug Tardif at the Business Abilities program because he appreciated the assistance that he was getting while he was building the business, and he knows that that's part of my background as well. And as you can see, I've been around the block a few days, and so he continues to get in touch with us, and I really appreciate that because as a business coach, all of us who work as business coaches, we want to make sure that we're actually doing something that's relevant and something that the client is going to be able to use. And when they come back to us and they're grateful for the information that we pass on to them, that's reaffirmation as far as I'm concerned, and validation that we are in fact having a good time, enjoying ourselves, and doing what we really like to do, and that what we're passing on to the clients is a value. If it wasn't a value, they wouldn't be speaking with us. So it's very important consideration for the coaches. Pardon me. And and we see this on a regular basis. So that's what I have to say. I know we're running over time here, so I won't go on too much longer.
A little bit. Yeah, no, it's really reaffirming, and that's, that's great. That's a great reflection, Doug. Thank you. Thank you very much. So Anna's in both programs, but from what she's heard today, she suspects that the BA program is the best starting point, and she's looking forward to talking with Mary. Okay, that's great. Yeah, it's really important. I'm glad you were able to attend today, Donna, and really learn a little bit more and find out what's right for you. And that's great. I'm glad to hear. So, what's coming up? We're nearing towards the end of the presentation. I want to mention again that the Business Abilities program is a continuous intake. So we generally take clients into the program about once per month. And it all just depends on the there's paperwork to process, and that all has to be done ahead of time. Now, the Web Essentials intake coming up October 17th. Web Advanced will be May 29th, 2017. We've got Web Advanced in progress at this time, and students are taking PHP MySQL, and then they'll take Advanced Web Marketing and WordPress blogging for business. So Mary's answered Laura's question. Good, thank you. Okay, now there's some exciting things that happen in our organization. We have an annual event, which is a student showcase and website competition, in which our graduates can enter their websites. And it gets really interesting from year to year to year, and it gets highly competitive as well. We actually ended up with the most votes ever this year, so it's a really great chance for the public to see the work that's being produced out of the program. And it's a lot of fun. It definitely keeps us hopping as well. So if you did miss our website competition this year, feel free to give it a go to take a look, and it shows who won the contest, and watch for the contest again next year. It'll be at that same link, and it's easy to get to. If you wish to, in a browser, just type bit.ly/student showcase. It'll take you right there. And another great thing that we do, and really I have to hand it to our clients, and same thing as with the website competition, they're doing all this production work, and it's truly astounding. We put a calendar out for the second year in a row. We decided to feature the actual work of clients in our programs, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely a stunning calendar that we put together. So I've really got to hand it to our clients just for their talents. We've got extras if there's anybody. I know it's June, but there's still half a year to enjoy a calendar. We do have extras. Just let us know if you'd like us to send you a copy, and we'd be happy to do so. And I mentioned that we held an extravaganza this past year. We held this in October 2015. And it was to celebrate our 10-year anniversary as an organization. But we made it a little bit different. We talked about the success of clients going through our programs. We talked about how the work we do has affected us as individuals, has changed us as a team over time. But we really focused on clients, and it's a collection of video stories and videos featuring clients and staff. Our board of directors also appeared, and the president and CEO of Selkirk College was there. So it was just really everybody taking an hour or so just to celebrate what can be achieved by people working together and focusing on individuals and their goals. And just really, staying the course. I think it's all about the support that people can get through not just us, but organizations in their community, through their families, and what can be achieved. And this is what the event was all about. So again, if you would like to take a look at the extravaganza celebration, you can get there either from the link that Mary gave you, or by typing bit.ly/save-the-8th in your browser. And it's on Ustream. I prefer the link on Ustream, even though there's some advertising. It's just really nice. You kind of get a feel for what the live event was like, because there's the chat history still present with the recording in Ustream. The advertisement's a bit of a nuisance, but it is the better recording, I think, than just the YouTube. And we're in all the social media, so do feel free to follow us on social media. We're going to be having a really neat series of postings coming up about just what is success. Do we use the word success? what do we call it a journey? What do we call a success story? So we're going to be exploring some new ideas, and there'll be some posts, and we'll be featuring some client stories. So that's interesting coming up. And generally, the social media is there. It's a great way to connect with other clients in the program. There isn't a group so far for IBDE graduates. We don't have a group yet for business abilities participants. Nobody's really decided to start a group, but yeah, and LinkedIn's a great way to connect with other clients as well. I notice that a lot of clients are getting connected through LinkedIn. Twitter's Twitter. I don't really understand it myself, but we do Twitter. And we're on Instagram as well. So we're in all those locations. You can also, again, attend an online session at any time. Even if you don't join our programs, you're more than welcome to sign up to attend a session and do some independent learning. If you become involved, share your story. Do some outreach. We're really interested to know your background, your goals, where you're going to end up, where you do end up. So always know that we're interested to hear from you. Now we're down the road. We have people out there that staunchly believe in us. They become a program ambassador. Who knows, that could happen. But yeah, we welcome that as well. So I just want to put these ideas out there. There's lots of ways to get involved, and there's always volunteering opportunities. Whenever we can organize a project, there's plenty of work. And don't forget as well, and of course we do need to mention this because you never know, we are a charitable organization and we accept donations, so you just never know. Somebody's relative could be looking for an organization to support, and if at some point you felt like this was a valuable organization, then you may want to point that out to your friends or family members. So it's important that we get these ideas out. And so I cover the whole gamut here. So before we finish, are there any last questions at all? I'm wondering, what do you feel like you're able to take away from today's session? We did hear from one participant that it helped them to make a firmer determination of what program will be best suited to their needs, and that's really great for us. I think that's serving a good purpose for us having these information sessions. So I don't know, I don't see any comments coming in, but other than that, was there anything that was really stood out for you today? You'll have a chance to complete a program evaluation, as I mentioned, so do let us know how you enjoyed today's session. Feel free to be in further touch with us as well. And Heather says that she'll be looking at the links and maybe taking the Web Essentials course. Okay, that's great news. And at this point, I'll say if you have any further questions, please contact us. We have staff who are available and are just really a wealth of information. They really know our programs. They're really going to listen to what you're trying to achieve and help to bridge that link between what you want and what our services can provide to help you make a decision as to best fit. So we have a pretty easy toll-free number. It's 1-888-9-ASPIRE, and even the numerical number is pretty easy. It's 888-927-7473. We've got our main website, makeachangecanada.com. You can reach our programs through there, or our two program websites, Business Abilities and IBDE.ca. So I just want to say that I really appreciate you all attending today. I appreciate hearing from staff as to your reflections, and I appreciate hearing what your contributions are as well, and sharing where you're coming from and just what you're looking for in terms of educational or career programming. So really happy to have you attend, and I just want to say have a wonderful day, and we look forward to speaking with you again in the near future.